again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with a continuation of the Baker's Dozen Filet Shawl, and we are on row 14. Thank you for joining me, and if you're interested in following along with the written pattern, it is available in the Etsy store link down below in the description box, and a big thank you to my testers for help making that possible. So let's continue on with row 14. Alrighty, so to begin with, as per usual, going to start off by chaining up 3 and doing our increase on the sides. So that's our first double, and then 2 doubles into that first stitch for the increase, like so. Then going to do double crochets into the next 6 stitches. Now, don't forget, this chain space is a stitch, so going into that one first. So that's 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So technically speaking, we've got 9 doubles right here. And then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next, and 10 more for a total of 11 stitches going across this circle here. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next. Then keep at it by doing doubles across here. And that is, I believe, also 11. So we already have the 1 right here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and, yep, 11. Okay. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next, and 10 more for a total of 11. It's all about the 11s except for the beginning and the end where we have 9s. So I've got 3, and this makes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 6, and in that last stitch we need 3. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This space counts as 6. and then in the top of the last stitch, 3 doubles, always into the third chain from the bottom in this case. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so for the recap of row 14, we have 9, 11, 11, 11, and 9. All about the numerics. All right, there you go. So that's row 14. All right, row 15. Okay, so for row 15, it's where we have this circle here and this circle here, and they're going to start to close up at the top with the eyelets. So for right now, start off by chaining up 3 and turn 2 doubles into that first stitch because we need that increase. There we are. And then double into the next 10 stitches for a total of 13 on the end here. So we've already got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7 stitches. So I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There we go. Okay, then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next. There we go. So, as I said before, the eyelets are going to start coming inwards at the top there. So, after doing our 7, we need a group of 15 up here. So we already have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, excuse me, and 15. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next, and 6 more for a total of 7. Okay, we've already got 3 down. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Pull out a wee bit more yarn. There we go. Then we need another eyelet over here because, again, it's shifting over. They shift together inwards. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next. And on this side, just like we began, it's going to be 13 on this side. We started with the 13, we end with the 13. So it's 10, and then 3 in the last one. So I've already got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then in the last stitch, 3, so that we can get our increase on this side as well. So that's 1, and 2, and 3. There you go. So, as always, I like to do the recap. We've got 13, 7, 15, 7, 13. And there you go. Row 16. It's a little bit easier because most of the groupings are 7s, with the exception of the beginning and the end grouping. Start off by chaining up 3, turn the work, 2 doubles into that first stitch, double into each of the next 2 stitches, so we have a total of 5. There we are. So we've got the grouping of 5. And then we are going to incorporate in this area here the bottom of a new circle. We're going to finish up the tops of these and so on. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3 times. All right, so we've got our 3 eyelets, then double into the next 6 stitches for a total of 7. Okay, already got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then we need another 3 eyelets. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3 times. Double into the next double into the next 6 stitches for a total of 7, pardon me. So I've got 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Another grouping of 3 eyelets. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3 times. Okay, double into the next 6 stitches for a total of 7. Okay, we already have 5, 6, and 7. another grouping of 3 eyelets. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next. There we go. Double into the next 6 stitches for a total of 7. Okay, this one makes 4. And 5. 6 and 7. And one more grouping of 3 eyelets. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double in the next. Okay, then double into the next stitch and 3 in the last, so that we've got 5 at the end, just as we had 5 in the beginning. Symmetry is key. If I can get into that stitch. And one more. And there you go. Okay, so we've got 5, 7, 7, 7, 7, and 5, separated by groupings of the 3 eyelets. Because as I said, where we have these that are enclosing the circle, we have these that are going to be the bases of new circles right there. All right, so onwards and upwards, let's go. Ta-da! This is row 17. This is the beginning of the official repeat. Yes. So row 17 is actually quite simple. It's groupings of 7s separated by chain 1 spaces for the most part, with the exception of the beginning and end of the row, but this one's going to be pretty easy. Let's get to it. So row 17, going to start very much like we did previously by chaining up 3, and turning 2 doubles into the first stitch, and then double into each of the next 2 stitches for a grouping of 5. There we are. Okay, then chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the next 7. And we're going to do that all the way across to the end until we reach the end bit. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, thank you. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7, and so on and so forth for the rest of this row. Really quite simple. And as I said, yeah, this is the beginning of the full repeat. The full repeat is rows 17 through 28. So we've already got 6, and one more makes 7. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7 stitches. So over here, you can see that this is going to be the beginning of a new circle. Now over here, this line right here is going to be creating a framework, sort of like what we have over here, creating a framework around other circles. We'll get there. Okay, already got 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7 stitches. Okay, and you know what? Continue doing that until we reach the end of the row. I will meet back up with you around here so that we can finish up our row. It's just 7 doubles, then another eyelet. So it's 7, then chain 1, skip a stitch, and 7. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and 7. I'll meet back up with you in just a moment. All right, so I'm almost done with row 17. Like I said, it's just 7 doubles, another eyelet, and so on and so forth until 4 stitches from the end. So let's finish that up together. So after doing that last grouping, and I only have 4 stitches left here, chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 2 stitches, and then in the last stitch, 3 doubles for a total of 5 because we started with a grouping of 5. So get in there with 1, and 2, and 3. There you go. Really quite easy. All right, onwards to row 18. Okay, row 18. Well, if we look closely, you can see that this is the base of a circle. Well, it's going to be growing outwards from 7 to a total of 11 stitches. And then that means that these side bits here are going to be shrinking in from 7 down to 5. And we're going to do that throughout. So starting in with a chaining up of 3, and turning, and 2 doubles into the first stitch, and then double into each of the next 2 stitches for a total of 5. There we are. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next, and 10 more for a total of 11. Alrighty. So we've got our 11 going on right there. And then from here, create a new eyelet. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next, and 4 more for a total of 5 doubles. There we are. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5. One more. Okay, chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11 stitches. Okay, already got 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm needing some more yarn already, my goodness. Okay. It's hard work what we do, don't you think? All right, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5. Okay. Scoot your work over. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. I'll get there, I promise. There we go. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Chain 1, and we're at the very end. We have 4 more stitches left, so after chaining 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 2, and then 3 into the last stitch for a total of 5. Two more. Ta-da! All right. So we've got 5, 11, 5, 5, 11, 5, 5, 11, and 5. And there you are. That's the end of row 18. Okay, rows 19 and 20 are very, very similar to row 18 with the exception of the beginning and end of the rows. So let's get to it. For row 19, start off by chaining up 4. Instead of 3, we're chaining up 4 because we're going to be starting with an eyelet at the end here. So after chaining up 4, double into that first stitch just once, not twice, because that eyelet counts as a total of 3 stitches. It's a double, a chain space, and a double. So that's the equivalent to our increase there. Then going on from here, going to do 4 more doubles for a total of 5. There we are. And then we're going to continue on just as we had previously with groupings of 11, 5, 5, 11, 5, 5, etc., etc. So I'll get you started. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. Okay, we've got 3, 4. Sorry, got a bit of a tangle. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5. Now, for this row, you really don't even have to count. You can just follow where the eyelets are, which is rather convenient. Personally, I like to count, but that's just my OCD kicking in. All right, so we've got our 5 right here. There we are. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5. Okay, already got 3. And 4. And 5. And then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11, and so on and so forth until the end of the row. And I will meet back up with you so that we can finish that off together. But yeah, that's really all that you have to do as far as this row is concerned. Just follow the eyelets up, and whenever you see an eyelet, do an eyelet. So starting off with our chain space, 5, 11, 5, 5. This will be 11, and so forth. And I'll meet back up with you so that we can finish this off together. All right, I will see you shortly. Okay, so I'm almost done with row 19. I've just been tooling along until we only have 6 stitches remaining. Don't forget, this counts as a stitch, that eyelet space. So from here, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double 1, 2, 3, 4, and then into that last stitch, a double chain 1 double, so that we have a grouping of 5 and an eyelet. Okay, so we've got our, oh, almost had it. Hey, I'm not perfect. I will be the first in line to say that. All right, double, then chain 1 and double into that same stitch so that we have an eyelet at the beginning as well as at the ending. Now, I could make that a little bit tighter, don't you think? I think so. I'm not satisfied. There we go. This is more like it. That's better. I feel better about that. Okay, so there you go. That is the end of row 19. So it's 5, 11, 5, 5, 11, 5, 5, 11, 5, and the eyelet. All right, onwards and upwards to row 20. Okay, so row 20, very, very similar to row 19, with, of course, the exception of the very beginning and ending of the row. So I'm going to start off by chaining up 3, and then into that first stitch, 2 doubles. So we're going to have a grouping of 3 here at the end. like so. Then, continuing on the eyelet upward, chain 1, skip a stitch, and then double into the next 5. Okay, we've got our 3, 2 more. Okay, so we've got 3, eyelet, and 5. Then on to the 11. And then in a bit, I will let you do the doing, because really we're just following suit with the eyelets as they present themselves. When you see a double, do a double. When you see an eyelet, do an eyelet. We're basically just reading the stitching and having it tell us what to do. You know, for this row, yeah, you really don't need to count. Nothing wrong with it, but you don't need to. So this one and one more should make 11. Two, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's a beautiful thing when things work, don't you think? So then from here, chain 1, skip that space, that stitch there, and then double into the next 5. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5, and so on and so forth for the rest of the row. And then I'm going to leave you to it, and I will meet back up with you so that we can finish up the end of row 20. But yeah, that's really all there is to it. You're just following suit with what we already have going on. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm almost done with row 20. Quick recap, I've got my 3, 5, 11, 5, 5, 11, 5, 5, 11. Well, I need another 5 and then a 3 at the very, very tail end here. Let's do that together. I did my 11 right here. It's the circle. So do my chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 5. It's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, skip a chain, well, stitch, chain, same difference, and then in the top of the last stitch, 3 doubles. So you want to skip this chain here and work into the next one, which is the 3rd from the bottom. You know, sometimes in certain patterns, it really doesn't matter. This one, it kind of does. You want to work into that 3rd chain. For this, I would say neatness counts. And there you go. That is the end of row 20. Give yourselves a pat on the back because you made it this far. And, well, we've got more to go. So let's get to it. Okay, row 21. Row 21 is actually quite easy because, with the exception of the beginning and end of the row, it's a grouping of 7s all the way across. Very, very easy. So let's start off with our chaining up of 3 and turn 2 doubles into the first stitch. And then double into each of the next 2 stitches so that we have a total of 5 at the end here. There we are. Then proceed by chaining 1, skipping a stitch, and doubling into the next 7 stitches. So we've already got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now this circle, it's going to start to close, so we're shifting the eyelet over. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. I'll get there. Don't you worry. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7, and so on and so forth for the rest of the row. So I already got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. It's really, really that easy. And that being said, I'm going to keep moseying my way across, doing my groupings of separated by chain 1 space eyelets, and I will meet back up with you to finish up this row together. And we'll do the increase end cap. All right, I'll see you shortly. Okay, so I'm almost done with row 21. We have our grouping of 5 and then a whole bunch of groupings of 7 separated by eyelets. They're just all 7s all the way across. So we're almost done, so let's finish it together, shall we? So going to chain 1, skip a stitch, do my grouping of 7. So I already got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more makes 7. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, and then our 3 is going to become 5 because we've got 1 double, then double into the next stitch, and then into that last stitch, 3 doubles so that we have a grouping of 5. If I can get in there. Almost. Almost. There. All right, so 3 stitches into that last stitch, and then we will be good. Almost had it, but no cigar. There we go. So now we've got our grouping of 5. So we get to end with a grouping of 5, as well as begin with a grouping of 5 with our groups of 7 in between. And there you go. That's the end of row 21. Okie dokie, my dears. So that is going to conclude part 2 of the Baker's Dozen Filet Shawl. Really hope that you're enjoying this series, and if you are, please give a little thumbs up button down below. And Also, if you want to follow along with a written pattern, link is in the description box down below at my Etsy store. And I want to give a big old thank you to my testers for helping make it possible. Couldn't do it without you. I really appreciate it. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.